address. The first is, I'm just giving you in the order which they probably should be handled, is Mr. Powers' recusal. And then we have the issue of whether to consider the matter of the possible violation of the Code of Ethics and Conduct, or to defer the matter to the newly elected council following the election. And then only if we decide to take up the matter, address the matter of Mr. Delaney's censure for violation of the Code of Ethics and Conduct. I will say that, yes, the information was received as outlined in the timeline that I gave. And yes, I had a choice to disclose or not disclose. And I think the opponents of one candidate or another wanted it to be disclosed, and the others wanted it to not be disclosed, and I made the choice to disclose it. Frankly, if I didn't disclose it, I think it would be fair to argue that I was suppressing relevant information. I didn't want to take that chance. That wouldn't be the right thing to do, to suppress relevant information. You can argue about whether or not it's relevant, I guess. But to suppress relevant information would not be the appropriate decision. So I made the decision to move forward with the disclosure. I disclosed it to Mr. Delaney prior to disclosing it to any council. I told him in my correspondence that I considered it to be confidential. Although there was no confidential relationship, there was no secret relationship here, I treated it as though it was confidential information until it became public. So the matter of Mr. Powers' recusal. He's requested a recusal. He's explained why he wanted the recusal, and it's up to a vote of council to either to grant that recusal. Mr. Gildner, am I correct?
A motion must be made, yes.
A motion and support. What's the pleasure of council?
Can I make my own motion?
I think, yeah, you can make your own motion.
I'll make my motion.
Yeah, go ahead, if that's what you want to do.
I'll make that motion.
So motion by Mr. Powers.
To recuse Mr. Powers.
Yes. Is there support?
I'll support that.
There's a support. Motion support. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Delaney.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Powers.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Musgrave.
Yes.
Weinbrenner.
Yes.
McKinney.
Yes. Motion carried. You're recused.
Okay,
Right?
thank you.
Point of order, Mr. McKinney.
Yes.
Would it be appropriate to open it up for any other council member who might want to recuse himself or herself?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah.
Because I would like to ask to be recused as well. I feel like I can't possibly make an objective decision in my own case.
Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't ask to be recused. Yeah.
I think in a censure that you do not vote for yourself, or you don't vote anyhow. The only challenge to that is that our bylaws state that you cannot abstain. So I am curious, Mr. Gildner, how that
I think
is.
I think it's a proper, whatever we call it, I think it's a proper motion. If Mr. Powers, who's not directly involved, feels as though he shouldn't participate, then I can understand how someone who is deeply involved could. So regardless of what we call it, I think it's a proper request.
Good. I'll second that then.
There's a motion and support. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please. What's that?
Her flashlight's
Oh.
killing me.
Sorry.
As I was saying, motion support. Roll call vote, please.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Musgrave.
Yes.
Weinbrenner.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes.
McKinney.
Yes. Motion carried. So we will proceed with a council of 5 in furtherance of our discussion and also in furtherance of the motions and support. The first issue is whether to consider this matter take it up or defer it to the council following tomorrow's election.
I don't think kicking the can down the road is going to help anybody. The matters before us, after the election, we could quite possibly have a different council, thus a different outcome. So I think we should deal with the matter as it stands before us.
You can make a motion.
I make the motion that we deal with the matter before us as it is.
Motion to consider this matter, which is on the agenda, and not defer it to the next council.
I'll support that.
Motion and support. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Perkins.
Yes.
Musgrave.
Yes.
Weinbrenner.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
McKinney.
Yes. Motion carried. Now, the matter before us now, council, for our discussion is taking up the matter to determine whether Mr. Delaney should be censured for a violation of the Code of Ethics and Conduct. Now, censure, Mr. Delaney doesn't lose his office, he doesn't lose his vote, he doesn't lose his pay for the office, he loses no benefits of the office. But it's simply an imprimatur statement by what remains of the council voting on this issue. And it's lawful, and it's permitted by statute, and all those other things we've run into where certain things weren't permitted, this is permitted. Anything to add, Mr. Gildner?
I don't think so. I'm happy to answer any questions, but
Now, in terms of,
I have a question.
this is council discussion, in terms of what we have before us, we have Mr. Puddock's report about the incident, and we have no factual response to that report. That's okay. What we have is an argument that the rules shouldn't apply, that this involved personal conduct. I would say the argument was more properly, it involved private conduct, and of course, Mr. Puddock says, no, it wasn't private conduct. It was in a public area, and it was in the American Legion, and it was during an event that they were hosting. So you can attack the rule, that's a fair thing. We could disagree with how the rule might be applied, but there's no response substantively to what Mr. Puddock has reported to the council. So we can't say that it didn't happen. We can't say that that parties weren't there as reported by Mr. Puddock, that there wasn't a party there and that there weren't people there and that he wasn't in the basement and found them. That's all reported, and it's not rebutted. We can talk about the rule and how the rule applies, because that was the argument, that the rule was about personal conduct, and it shouldn't be, and we shouldn't have records like that. And the argument went beyond that we're the problem. The problem isn't what happened on October 30th in the morning. The problem is us, which is another argument. So that is what we weigh when we make a decision that we're obligated to make in good faith as officers, that we've taken an oath to exercise in good faith. We have to understand that probably isn't popular with
Anyone?
with vocal voices we've heard tonight anyway. Ryan, you have been recused, please. And I'm working to have a business-like meeting. Your supporters are here. They've been very vocal. You know the rules.
I have a
Please.
point of order.
No, point of order. This is the discussion. You've been recused.
A point of order must be heard.
You've been recused.
You've been
You
recused.
yourself.
Can I ask a point of order if I've recused myself from a vote?
a point of order, if you're recused, now you're in the audience.
That's right. You separated yourself from the discussion.
We got it handled, I think, Jim. That's my piece, and council is welcome to weigh in on the facts, which I think are clear, and we can talk about the rule, too. Counsel?
Can we ask to hear from Mr. Puttick?
Mr. Gildner, is it?
And nor is it a
I don't,
I'd be happy to speak for a moment.
if there are disputed facts, perhaps, but under the circumstances, there are none. And so I would suggest no.
Questions for clarification, or?
Again, in the absence of any dispute about the facts, then perhaps. But again, under the circumstances, I think not.
Any further comments or questions?
Mr. Gilner,
Yes.
if the gentleman wants to talk, would he be allowed to do it?
At this point in time, it's a matter for counsel.
Okay.
If counsel wishes to have him speak, that's fine, but at this point in time, it's just for a discussion.
So we can have it both ways. We can ask to, Mr. Puttick has volunteered to speak, we can have him speak.
If the council wishes, please. If council wishes, this is your meeting. You can decide to alter the rules of procedure.
Or we wait and let him speak when we ask for other comment?
During public comment, exactly.
Okay,
I like that idea.
okay, thank you.
Any further comments, counsel, or questions for Mr. Gildner or for your colleagues?
Mr. Delaney has stated what has been stated happened. I mean, he hasn't tried to set that straight. And according to our code of ethics,
can't hear you.
Can't hear.
speak up. I said that Mr. Delaney has not wished to speak to this. And according to our code of ethics that we all took an oath to, this was done in public. It was not done in private. If it was in private, this would not be for us to consider. We would not be here if it wouldn't have been for the actions that were taken in this particular situation. So for you to sit out there and say that this is somehow a railroading is absurd, because he is the one who took the action that brought us here. It wasn't public, says the guy. It was public.
Mr. Perkins?
Wait, it's
Just
not,
two things for Mr. Perkins, number one,
Yeah.
and number two for the audience. The only thing to really do with continued interruptions is to take breaks, as you've done already, and to come back, and all that's going to do is draw this out. So please, I don't want to make that recommendation. I'm sure you don't want to do it. Mr. Perkins, what invites the back and forth with audience is two things. Number one, you're looking at audience and you're directing your comments to them. Your comments at this point should be directed at the chair. Of course, everybody can hear them and see them, but naturally, when you do that, you're going to get some back and forth. And so I would encourage all of you, as you speak, direct your comments to the chair, and hopefully that'll deter audience members from responding.
Thank you, Mr. Gilder. I apologize. My only thought then would be that we all are to follow this code of ethics. We all make mistakes. God knows I've made plenty of them. But in this particular situation, we are only here due to the actions that took place on October 30th. So I believe we should move forward with censure.
any further comments?
Perhaps if you can explain what the censorship is.
It's
The audience.
It's an imprimatur by fellow council members that there's been conduct that has breached our ethics and our code of ethics and our standards. So that's all it is. It doesn't take anything away from Mr. Delaney insofar as his office. It's a public censure, meaning we're doing it publicly, and we say this conduct breached our standard. Have I answered your question?
Yeah, I was just, I know what it is.
And
I was just
I
waiting.
wrote to Mr. Delaney on November 4th, and I said, I discussed that if this is accurate, there's a presumption that he hasn't done anything wrong. But I'd tell him that if there's a finding that he's been compromised by his conduct, he owns the conduct. If that report is accurate, then from now on, and this is why we have this rule, even a reasonable and fact-based decision will be subject to suspicion. You know, it's politics, and there's money, and there's sex, and we avoid those because they cause troubles in politics. So, and our rules say avoid that, avoid the financial, avoid the social. Mr. Delaney did not answer that issue that I placed to him on November 4th. That caution, I said, you know, hereafter, even reasonable decisions are impaired by a conduct that breaches the standard. I don't think I have any more to say. Counsel, any further to say?
When we are elected and come on council, we take an oath to uphold, right?
Yes,
And then we sign that oath that we're gonna uphold.
yes.
Okay. So we know what the oath says and everything, once we sign it.
Right. Right. We acknowledge that those are the rules, and we affirm that we're going to follow those rules. And I think we understand, I don't know. There's a reason for those rules, and there's a reason why a violation is addressed. And there's a reason why I didn't suppress the information that was provided to the village manager and the village police chief, and ultimately made its way down to me. But that was my decision. A motion, if there's no further discussion, a motion would be in order.
I would like to say something first.
Certainly.
Mrs. Delaney, I am sorry that you had to go experience this situation. I can only imagine how you feel. I just want you to know that that is coming from my heart. You can laugh if you want. You don't know me personally, so you can keep your comments. Yeah, so do I. But the bottom line is, something did happen. The council didn't create it. It happened. And to try to put something and twist it that I'm doing this to try to win is absurd. You can think what you want. I don't play that game. People ask me, how's your campaign going? Do you think you're going to win? I will tell anybody, it's not over until it's over. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows who's going to vote what way or not. So to sit there and condemn me for something that you don't know anything about, I am addressing you because I explained I had a comment for her.
Ms. Musgrave, again, this goes for everybody. Everyone can hear what is being said. My recommendation is just direct the comments to the chair, and they can still be heard, but it doesn't invite response.
Fine.
Any further?
Oh, yes, but I will refrain.
Okay. Any further comments? A motion would be in order. Motion to impose or not impose a public censure on Mr. Delaney.
When does public comment happen?
I'll make that motion to impose censure upon Mr. Delaney for his
There's a
actions.
motion to impose a public censure on Mr. Delaney. Is there support?
I'll support it.
There's support. We're going to call for more questions or discussion, and after our discussion is closed, we can have public comment on the motion that's before the council. And we heard all the comments, and I took notes of all the comments. So we weren't, we don't have to belabor some argument, please. There's a motion and support. Any further discussion, council?
No, sir.
Okay, none of the people who are participating. Public comment as to the motion to impose a sanction of personal censure on Mr. Delaney, understanding it does not impair his rights as a council member. It doesn't impair anything about his office. It is just a standard about the imprimatur we've discussed. Any public comment?
Me.
Yes, sir.
Mark Taylor, 15566 Falk Road. This is not a court of law, and under my understanding in the United States of America, you're innocent until proven guilty. I don't really know, Mr. Delaney. I don't know if what happened, they're saying what happened. But somebody over here could be saying that happened, and it never happened. This is he said, she said. This is not a court of law. Why do you get to decide one way or another on this man's fate when you have no facts? You have said yourself, Thomas McKenney, you are a lawyer. Your daddy, Robert McKenney, was a lawyer. There are no facts proven in this room tonight. How can you actually put this man's life at jeopardy when you have no facts? This is not a court of law. You have not chosen. You might be a lawyer, but that is to me, it's incomprehensible. You should be aboard.
Thank you. All right. Any further public comments? Cheryl Lynn.
Well, first of all, I'm Sherilyn Everly from 314 Hadley Street, and I want to read once again what we're talking about Mr. Delaney violated. This is the quote. I safeguard the ability to make independent, objective, fair, and impartial judgments by scrupulously avoiding financial and social relationships and transactions that may compromise or give the appearance of compromising objectivity, independence, and honesty. I've known Mr. Delaney now for several years. There's nothing in his conduct that would make me think that he is unable to make independent or sound judgments. And there's nothing I've heard about this whole case that makes me believe that. In fact, what I do believe is this. Since this whole thing is about ethics, there's two people who have shown the least amount of honesty and integrity in all of this. And the first one is Mr. Rodney Puttick, sitting right here. And the second one is Mr. Tom McKenney. And you, Mr. Puttick, you are regularly holding private parties down in the basement of the American Legion. You're holding drinking parties, you're paying for them, you're hosting them. And not only
Cheryl Lynn, I'm going to interrupt because I want to hear from the attorney, Mr. Gildner.
Yes, the comments that I made to council apply to members of the audience as well.
Then I will address the-
Comments are directed at the chair, not
I
to
will.
individuals, please.
Thank you, and I
Mr.
apologize.
Gildner, also, we're talking about the issue that's before council.
Yes, we are.
We're not talking about...
Mr. Puttick was hosting an after-hours party, after a Halloween party.
You know
Let's
what?
have all the facts.
Your time is expiring.
Please let him.
Please let me present the facts, Chief.
We are, and we will.
Not, if you're telling me I can't say that Mr. Puttick was hosting an illegal party in the American Legion, you are prohibiting me from speaking the facts.
No, that's not the facts that we're considering, because that's not...
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. No,
Yes,
it's
it is, because he's the man who you're relying on
I
him.
think your time's up.
You are, may I have more time? You interrupted me.
Cheryl, the issue before the council is whether...
First he interrupted me and then you did.
Cheryl,
At this point, if there's a point of order and the meeting is disrupted, please, let's get through this meeting. Like it or not, they're going to have a vote. And that is the parliamentary procedure that is before us. You can disagree with it and agree with it, but that conduct has to occur.
Cheryl,
That's why they're here. So please, let's let this meeting occur.
the motion is to impose a censure on Mr. Delaney. Please don't go far afield with things that happened
Mr.
outs-
McKinney,
that are
please
outside.
let me complete my statement.
Why do you interrupt me? I'm trying to move the
Because
meeting.
you're being rude to me. You're being rude. You've let everyone else speak, and if they say what you like, they can speak. If you don't like to hear it, you interrupt.
Sherilyn, seriously, do you think I like what people said about me tonight? No, and I didn't
And
interrupt.
I respected that I didn't bring it up
All right.
until
All
this
right,
time.
Sherilyn can go on for 4 minutes.
Thank you.
All right.
The only two people who have shown a lack of honesty and integrity are Rodney Puttick and Tom McKinney. Mr. Puttick regularly uses the bunker at the American Legion for his private drinking parties, and that is exactly what was going on the night we were talking about. Not only is it illegal, it's dangerous and reckless, and it puts our community in harm's way. Mr. McKinney's willingness to publicly destroy a man and his family based on an unsubstantiated tip from the man who was hosting the illegal party is weaponizing your ability to hold a public meeting before tomorrow's election, and it's dirty politics, and it's on full display. You are fully responsible for the circus here tonight. If I were any of you council people, I would say you have not one leg to stand on to crucify this man. I would have asked for an adjournment of this meeting before now. The least you can do is to give Ryan and his family the dignity they're due and not base a censorship on the gossip of a drunk in the basement of the American Legion. Thank you very much.
Mr. Puttick, you were offering to make a statement. Do you have any interest in doing that now?
I do, thank you. Rodney Puttock, 707 Clough Street. The only thing that I'd like to address, there is the question of whether or not a criminal act occurred. Now, I consider Mr. Delaney a friend. Now, I want
Please,
to
folks.
apologize to the Village of Holly because I do feel in a way I did handle this inappropriately. There was a better way to do this. A crime was committed, in my opinion, under section 750.335A. Take the opportunity to Google it. That is the indecent exposure under Michigan Penal Code. I walked in on something that I did not want to see. The doors were not secure to that facility. This was a carryover from a gathering that was open to the public and to the community. I stand by every word in my statement, and that is all I have. Thank you.
Any further public comment related to the motion that's pending? Yes, ma'am.
Angela Wallace, 709 Baird Street. I'm reading from your Code of Ethics and Conduct. It says the scope. The provisions of this Code of Ethics and Conduct shall apply to the village president and members of the village council and to all members and the boards, commissions, committees appointed to the village council and the village president or the president and village together, including any ad hoc committees. Further, the provisions of this Code of Ethics and Conduct shall only apply to these officials and members acting in their official capacities in the discharge of their duties. Ryan was neither officially in a capacity as a council person, nor was he in discharge of his duties as a council person. He was in a closed room with a closed door where it had to be open. There was no indecent exposure to anybody. They went to a private place. It doesn't matter if it was him and his wife or him or whoever. I don't care who it was. It doesn't matter. He's not in violation in his official capacities and in the discharge of their duties. Read it. He wasn't in either. So you have no reason to do anything to censure Mr. Delaney. The other thing is, on Facebook, one of your council people said, "Oh, I've read," and this is Jim Perkins. I have read. I want to read it. I do know what happened. I have read the sworn statements and a police report was made. Mr. Delaney will have to be the one to step up and give you the answer you seek. It will be all out in the open on Monday. There was no police report made. I asked Chief Narsh tonight if there was a police report made. There was none. Therefore, I want you to censure Mr. Perkins for lying. Because right here it says, I will not lie. I will tell the truth. So if you want to censure Mr. Delaney for what he did, you need to censure Mr. Perkins for what he did. It's in black and white.
Any further public comment before we vote?
Sean Grullo, 120 North Corbin Street. I don't know Mr. Delaney, but Mr. Delaney, God bless you and your family. I'm sorry you guys went through this. Number two, it was stated earlier that this was a breach of ethics in this board's standards. I kind of chuckled when I was sitting back there because it seems like the standards are kind of doubled for some of you up here. Fact of the matter is I don't know you, sir. I really don't.
Again,
But my point is this. It's a matter of hearsay. There wasn't a formal investigation conducted. There was no legal opportunity to convict Mr. Delaney of any impropriety. So why this board is set to have what seems to be a legal proceeding is almost ridiculous. You know something? On that note, I'm just going to walk away. God bless you and your family, Mr. Delaney.
Further public comment? Any further public comment? Yes.
I'll keep it short. No, I know, I will. Kristen Watt, 102 South First Street, Apartment 3. I will piggyback what I said earlier. It's very upsetting to me because I have what I like to call, even with disagreements with many of you on many things over the last few years, many people in this audience. We've had, what we've all been through, from COVID to fires to, marches to all the things we've been through together for the last 3 years. I have had and worked to build personal relationships of some sort, find common ground with everyone in this room, including everyone involved in this situation. And whether this happened, didn't happen, whatever, a censure may not, regardless, that may not make him lose his seat. It may not make him lose anything. But it will be on the public record without an investigation, without all the things, because this was rushed over a course of days, and then put out for public. The public has decided what they think happened. I have seen so many things come across my message book in the last 2 days, it's disgusting. And if you censure that man, whatever he chose or did not choose or whatever happened, none of our business. That is you're stretching that code of ethics, because that's a precedent I don't think anyone wants to set. But I will say this, in his personal and professional life, it does have effects. And you guys do have a choice to say, you know what, maybe we need to have a ethics committee again. Maybe this should have deferred to an ethics committee for the council, and then it gets deferred to the council for public. There's a lot of ways this could have been handled, and this ain't it. This is awful. And I think we're not just the loud, ruckus people here. If you looked at any Holly forum yesterday, 90% of those people were disgusted with what they were seeing. It's not just us. We're not the loud, crazy people in the room. So if you choose, well, there are a few loud, crazy people in the room, and they own it. But my point is, your job when you're elected is actually to work for us. And if you think that he needs to be censured, that's your choice. But I have yet to hear one person come up here tonight. And we're not all friends of his, by the way. I'm friends with him, but not everyone in here is. And they still showed up tonight to stand up for what's right, for free and fair elections, and for treating people with dignity and going through a process. I'm disgusted. This is what the people are saying to you, and you're not listening. You want to censure, you want to smirk at me, you can do whatever you want to. But we will remember this tomorrow. I promise you. Most people did not absentee ballot.
Excuse me, sir, I don't know you from Adam. You seem to be the only one who keeps repeating the same thing over and over.
Let's let the meeting.
Then I'll remove myself.
Let's let the meeting.
Thanks, Jerry. I'll remove myself.
Thank you.
Any further public comment? I think I saw another hand out there. Yes, sir.
Stand up, sitting down for so long. Raise this up. No offense, Kristen. I think you were the last one up here. Jacob Crevier, 507 Ash Street. I just want to let you all know this is a waste of my time tonight. I stopped coming to these meetings about 3 months ago after the end of my primary election and decided to focus more on registering folks to vote, because I realize this board has been pretty stonewall whenever it comes to any type of public issue. I accomplish nothing talking to you. I'm better off talking to a brick wall, frankly. But Ryan, I do apologize that all of this drama has come out and engulfed your family. It's pretty awful. And Jim, I do gotta say, I'm kind of concerned when you implied that there was a police report and there wasn't, considering that I'm still speaking. I'll reclaim my time. But I am concerned in regards to that because it's fairly obviously there wasn't one, and that's libel. And now there's hundreds of comments on Facebook boards in Holly questioning if Ryan Delaney committed sexual assault, if Ryan Delaney is a pedophile, if Ryan Delaney is a monster who eats babies and kills dogs. And that has consequences to this man and the rest of his career and his life, and it's shameful. And you say you want to conduct this in regards to holding propriety over the issue. What's stopping me, Thomas, from making a complaint to the Michigan Bar Association for an ethics violation of suspected elder abuse because there's been concerns about one of your fellow board members that you claim to legally represent of his cognitive abilities? What's to stop me from calling the Attorney General's office in concerns to meddling with an election right before Election Day using village resources to do it? The village email system that got sent out to every single person in town who's signed up wondering when, Halloween is going to happen, or, I don't know, the parade for whatever Christmas nonsense is going on in the middle of February. What's to stop me from making a police report about this after? Because I can make an actual one. It doesn't matter if they find out there's a crime or not, because I have reasonable belief to suspect there was one committed. So it's my duty as a good citizen, according to your ethics and your standards, to report it. All you're doing here is making a mockery of a man's private life and wasting taxpayer dollars and what's going to come down for legal fees from all of this. You could have prevented it. Can't get you to spend a dime on our water issues without feeling like I'm pulling teeth from a water buffalo. But all those lawyer fees, they'll be nice. And I don't have to pay any of it. It's just setting one level of the government to fight with another. And you could have avoided it.
Further public comment? But yes, before we go to a vote.
I have a question for you, Tom. Why are we here? There is no victim. There's no one here complaining about Ryan. There's nothing. When it was Mr. Powers, and I'm sorry, I don't have a grudge against you, I really don't know you, and there was a victim, you didn't call a special meeting. You did nothing other than to yell at the victim who was trying to do the right thing. Why are we here? Was this your last ditch vendetta against somebody? Because that's exactly what it looks like. And I'd really like an answer. Why are we here? Why a special meeting for him, but not for him?
Are you through with your comments?
I'd really like to know why.
It's not a dialogue, it's just a comment to the council regarding the pending motion.
Well, my feeling is, and I think a lot of us feel the same way, it's your last-ditch effort to get your little friend here elected. After her last little tirade, I went to elect her dog catcher, and he still has my vote.
Any further public comment?
Don Oliver, 306 Airport Drive. I guess, Tom, I gotta say I've never been to one of these funny meetings, but I will say this. If the things that have been accused to Mr. Delaney are true, who is really wasting our time? Is he wasting our time, or is the board? My question would be, if he did it, I'm thinking this in the room, everyone's defending him right now, and what about women's rights? What about his wife, his family, everything involved? I mean, it's a disgrace that if it is true that we're all defending him for something he did in public when it should be some sort of a crime, right, to expose yourself in public. That is a public building. No matter if it's up until 2 o'clock in the morning, if it's a private building. I believe it has a liquor license so they can sell alcohol there. So whatever this gentleman, whatever is been done at that night there was legal, I believe. But I think what Mr. Delaney is being accused of, if he is in the wrong, he wastes our time here by not admitting it from the beginning and it being dealt with up front. That's all I have to say.
Any further public comment? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on now, council. We finished our deliberations. And we do have the evidence before us, and it is the report that we were provided, and it is factual and it is detailed, and that is evidence. And there was no response to that. There could have been evidence, and but there was no response to that. There was just an argument that didn't like the rule, and an argument that a pox on us because we sought to enforce the rule. A motion and support have been made. Any further discussion, council? Roll call vote of 5, please.
Perkins.
Yes.
Musgrave.
Yes.
Weinbrenner.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
No.
McKinney.
Yes. Motion carried. If there's no further business, without objection from a councilman all councilmen are participating in the meeting again. If there's no objection, we can be adjourned.
I'll make that motion. I can do that, can't I?
Yeah, you can. Well, now we have a motion to adjourn.
Support.
There's a motion and support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.